Hello, my name is Reginald Bass, and I'm going to talk about Module 4's Standard 4 Instructional Coaching um, Practicum. So I'm working with Miss Jordan. Miss Jordan is a second year math teacher. She is 25 years old, and she's a part of the Millennium Generation. Um, Miss Jordan is very high energy. She's very dedicated. She's very organized. Um, and she tends to kind of stick with the traditional model of teaching, meaning not much technology, more book type of teaching. Um, her personality is very laid back, very reserved, and she's very like structure. Um, she cares about her students, but sometimes with the different strategies in math, she kind of stick with those strategies where she can kind of broaden her strategies and use more strategies to engage kids. So some of her weaknesses. Ms. Jordan, she needs support in lesson planning, aligning with the state standards, including differentiation, differentiated instructions, analyzing student data, using more technology to engage her kids, and not solely depending on whole group instructions, but doing small groups to engage those kids and bridge those learning gaps. Miss Jordan, her contextual challenges. Miss Jordan teaches a diverse group of students, and her students are below grade level. And she have a couple of advanced students, but more students who are not fifth grade proficient, if that makes sense. Um, so her challenge include to widen the range of math proficiency levels throughout her classroom, to improve her benchmark and her state test scores, to limit experience. She has limited experience with assessments and understanding data and letting that data guide her instructions. And student engagement. Student engagement is very low due to technology and other strategies that she can incorporate. So my actions taken to guide her, to coach her. My first goal was to observe her and give her feedback. So I went in her classroom over a 2-day period and just for a good 15 minutes, just observe. Listen from the beginning, like the beginning of her lesson, just kind of listen and observe what she was doing, what the kids were doing, how the kids were responding to her, how she was responding to the kids. And I conducted that class observation during math on fractions. And I focus on, once again, her lesson structure and her pacing, student engagement, and how she used question strategies. Feedback provided for that section was I used constructive and descriptive feedback. So I talked about her strengths. She was very clear explaining her strategies, and she had strong classroom management. Areas of growth was lesson lack differentiation instructions. It just kind of stuck with one strategy, and we just went with that. Questioning was low level. Basically, kind of what I say, and you tell me what you heard. And it should have been more of why do you feel that way, or why? What's the why behind your answer, to get the kids critical thinking. And students were passive during instructions. So some of my guiding questions for her when we met to kind of discuss. I asked her, like, how are you gauging the kids actually understanding what you are teaching? Are you asking questions? Are you just kind of depending on, oh, for the most part, they have it? Um, like, what are you using to gauge their understanding? And another question was, well, like, what opportunities are you giving the students to explain their thinking? Are you giving them time to think through and to process the concepts? So I gave her time to kind of reflect on our first session, and the second session was just her coming to observe me and another teacher kind of walk through the process of what should be happening. Um, so it was modeling best practices, um, which included lesson planning and engagement. So I modeled a standard aligned math lesson that included clear learning objectives, small group instructions, and hands-on activities. Those strategies demonstrate like chunking those large lessons into mini lessons. You don't have to teach everything in one period, in one setting. Chop those lessons up, especially if they're large lessons, and especially if that standard is a long standard. Using think, pair, and share to increase class participation. Have those kids turn and talk. Have those kids, they have the answer, stand behind their chairs. Just engage those kids in any form or any fashion. And incorporating higher order questions. Ask them a question, ask them, why do you feel that way? How did you come up with that answer? Can you show me? All right. So you want to kind of get the kids, get their critical thinking juices flowing always in every lesson. And students were engaged. They were apt to learn. So she saw that process, and we talked about her lesson planning. And sometimes in your lesson plan, you have to be very, very, very detailed, and put your lesson planning, like certain turn and talk, put it in your slide when you're presenting. All right, so you won't forget it. Student engagement is very critical when it comes to kids learning, classroom engagement, and student achievement. Ms. Jordan also saw how we use technology. Simple Kahoots, simple Gizmo. I mean, it was simple technology that you can use just to engage the kids. Kids love technology, and that's one way to engage them and work on their critical thinking. So in our third session, we talked about utilizing data and technology, and integrating technology. So we met and reviewed student assessments from a recent quiz, exit ticket, and unit tests. So I kind of guided her through, we kind of put the scores, what the kids, their grades, in three sets of piles: low kids, medium kids, and high kids. And we looked at the trends, what questions they got wrong. Did everyone get everything? Did every student get the same question wrong? Or did most of the kids get it right? So we looked at the trends of it. And also we looked at the trends, and we looked at how many kids didn't meet proficient. So with that being said, we looked at that, and then we target those kids for small group. All right, because we knew exactly what they needed by looking at the exit tickets, by looking at the data. So we know that the data drives instructions. So we looked at that. We grouped students based on their performance, especially when it came to small groups. And we plan target instructions. All right, maybe we need to teach this lesson again the following day. Sometimes it takes kids a day or two to process these concepts when it comes to math. We talked about technology, small things as PowerPoints, uh, small games like Cahoots, 99 Math, iReady. These they have games on there where the kids can have fun, learn, and also use critical thinking. So we also talked about how when we are doing our gradual release and we're doing the we do and the independent work, how you can go around and actually look at their work, and that work will help you to adjust your instructions. You may need to stop right there and say, hey, we need to go over this concept. So just giving the real time data, to adjust your instructions, and to incorporate technology. That was very important too. All right, in our final session, it wasn't our final session, but we did 4 sessions, but we did more than that afterwards just to see if she had any questions, her growth. So in our 4th session, we just talked about, it was more of a mentoring, co-teaching, higher order type of situation. So me and her, we co-planned and we co-taught a lesson. We use small groups, rotation, and problem-solving tasks require critical thinking. So we use problem solving, and we broke it down. We annotated the problem so the kids can understand each part of the problem and what the problem was asking the kids to do. Our focus area was students explaining reasoning. All right, tell me what you're thinking. How did you come up with this answer? The teacher facilitated the discussion instead of a lecture type of feel. And we use higher order questions. Why? What are you thinking behind it? All right, and during this lesson, Miss Jordan, she led small groups. We talked about that in our previous planning. And students' engagement were more meaningful. And she understood the relationship with technology, data planning, and how all that works together. Afterwards, we kind of discussed, what she learned from that, and what she saw, what she observed. She said she saw that student engagement increased, it improved students' thinking, and we talked about next steps. So to conclude this, mentoring and coaching impact. Throughout this process, it was a collaborative process. I encourage her to speak freely. I encourage ongoing support and feedback with her. Miss Jordan, she learned a lot. I learned a lot from her. She became more confident. She was better in lesson planning, using technology, integrating technology, and using data to drive her instructions. All right, so this coaching approach reflects key adult learning principles. One was self-direct learning. Ms. Jordan actively reflecting on her teaching and participating in decision making. And that I didn't give her the solution, I gave her the space to make and to discover the solution. Another one was all strategies were directly tied to classroom challenges, which allowed her to apply new learning right away and make it meaningful and practical. All right. At the very end, I would say that Miss Jordan, she did improve in her lesson planning, in her data-driven instructions using technology. So this was a very, it was new for me, and I enjoyed the experience.